It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely. We will be with you here for the next couple of hours from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, talking sports of local, regional, and national importance. So stick around. It's going to be a good one, as Steve Harvey would say. Wade, what's up?
Man, living the dream, Mo. It is Wednesday. 4th of
Hump
July is upon
day.
us. Hump day is here. Holiday is here. It's a million degrees, Well, I take that back. It's only 100,000 degrees. We've cooled off from a million, but man, vibes are high. Things are good. How is Mr. Mo this afternoon?
I'm good, man. I've not been outside a whole lot. Went out, got the mail, came back in. Wasn't like oppressively hot, particularly for July 3rd. But
Mm-hmm.
it's coming. We've been here, we know. So it just kind of comes with the territory at this point. But looking forward to a couple of days off. Actually, Friday will be a best of Main Street Sports Today. We will not be live as we just logistically speaking, really doesn't make a whole lot of sense for us to take tomorrow off, come back Friday to do a live show. Plus, I've got some stuff I need to cover in my other capacity as sports editor for Main Street Murray during the day on Friday. So it would be a little problematic to be there and be here. So, but yeah, kind of days off, but we'll be back Monday. But we're here, like I said, for this next couple of hours, and it's going to be fun. In the next hour, we will be joined by Nashville Sounds play-by-play announcer Jeff Him. They are currently in Memphis, but tomorrow they will be at First Horizon Park playing the Memphis Redbirds.
The old switcheroo.
A little split series, if you will. 3 in Memphis to start the week, 3 here in Nashville to end the week. So going to be an interesting week, and we'll talk to Jeff about the logistics of that after they've gotten used to 6-game series for, the bulk of the season, among other things. But Jeff will be with us at 3:20. In the next segment, we will be speaking with Heather Williams, who was out in Gladeville for the weekend, talk a little NASCAR, and see what her thoughts were about the way things went in that epic 5 overtime Cup Series race on Sunday night. So we'll be checking in with her. We'll also be talking some Braves, some Major League Baseball, some NBA, some interesting staff hirings, I guess, taking place here since we left you yesterday. Would have been good to kind of get Landon Seacrest's input on some of that, but Wade and I will have some thoughts, and so we'll get into those. And big game in the WNBA last night. Vegas and the Fever got together, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Big news out of the NHL as well. And again, it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Wade and I will close out the show with some of the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. And I'm kind of looking forward to it. So
yeah, I think it's going to be good, partner. We will set sail for 4th of July weekend here today. We'll do it in style with Wild and Wacky to close us out.
Absolutely. And to open us up, let's go ahead and give everybody yesterday's results and today's schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
Here we go, folks. Today's rundown is brought to you by Chip Walters of Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates. The Blue Raider Voice also wants to be your trusted advisor in real estate. So contact Chip at 615-542-1915 or visit his website at choosechip.net. That's Chip Walters, proud to support youth sports across Middle Tennessee.
Major League Baseball action of our interest from last night. Wade, it was a tough night for both of us as Toronto edged Houston 7-6, and the Braves dropped a 5-2 decision. I'm sorry, 5-3 decision. They scored late. A 5-3 decision to the Giants. Memphis and Nashville played a shootout. The Redbirds getting a 3-run walk-off homer in the 10th to win that one 13-11. In WNBA action, it was the New York Liberty with a 76-67 win over the Minnesota Lynx. The Sky down the Dreambusters, 85-77. The Aces with an 88-69 win over the Fever, and the Washington Mystics edged the LA Sparks 82-80.
That takes us into today's schedule and Major League Baseball action. A couple of evening games. Astros at Blue Jays kicking off at 6:07 p.m. Giants will be at the Braves tonight at 6:20. That game can be seen on Bally Sports South. The Nashville Sounds, as we mentioned, will close up their, road trip-ish at Memphis tonight. First pitch coming your way at 6 p.m. And in MLS action this evening, Nashville Soccer Club is on the road taking on the Columbus Crew. The match will begin at 5:30 and can be seen on Apple TV. Should be a good one. More on that later in this show. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes today's schedule and the rundown.
Today's top story brought to you, as always, by Piggly Wiggly over in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch items available until 6 o'clock. Also, their hand-cut meats and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you today's top story. And actually, it's stories, because a couple of big doings coming off of the campus of Belmont University, starting on the diamond, where longtime skipper Dave Jarvis will be inducted into the American Baseball Coaches Association's Hall of Fame as part of their class of 2025 during a January ceremony in D.C. That was announced today. There will be 8 members inducted into the Hall of Fame. And the other 7 are not in this release. That's unfortunate. Anyway, Coach Jarvis, 1,000-game winner, just finished his 27th year at Belmont. He has won more than 700 games there. In fact, 763 at Belmont, 1,067 wins over 36 seasons. 29 professional ball players have come through Belmont under his watch, including Guy Lipscomb, taken 151st overall by Cleveland in 2022. That's the highest draft pick in Belmont's history. Also, former Dodgers catcher Matt Beatty came through Belmont while Coach Jarvis was in charge. So he has had a fantastic career there, coming over there after 9 years at Three Rivers Community College over in Missouri, and spending some time as an assistant at Murray State. But great honor for Coach Jarvis, richly deserved. Good dude.
Yeah, had a chance to cover a regional that Belmont was participating in many moons ago, and you could just baseball coach. We went through our most enjoyable coaches yesterday, and it wasn't a surprise that there were a lot of baseball coaches on there, because these guys are, man, they're fun to talk to, and they're always great interviews. And this is a well-deserved award, and it kind of even still feels like Belmont baseball doesn't get as much kind of recognition or props. I know there's some really great programs, not just obviously in Nashville, but now in the state, as we've seen with Tennessee bringing down the banner. So it feels like a very richly deserved award, as you so eloquently put it, because this is a guy that has given so much to that program for a long, long time and has done it at a very high level.
Absolutely. Wade with the legwork there. Good job, bro. Joining Coach Jarvis in this 2025 Hall of Fame class of the American Baseball Coaches Association is New Mexico's coach Rich Alday, Pop Kittles from Florida A&M, Charlie Miggle. Is that what you take that to be? MIGL?
We're rolling with it, baby.
Okay, from St. Mary's University in Texas. Don Muramaru of Mid-Pacific Institute of Hawaii. High school coaches Dave Johnson from Ephrata High School in Washington State, Larry Turner from Owasso High School in Oklahoma, and
Oh yeah, your boy. You can't escape this guy.
I clearly cannot. I would never have expected to have discussed Jim Schlossnagle to the degree that we have over the past 2 weeks. But the new Texas skipper will also be joining Coach Jarvis in this Hall of Fame induction class. So, great group, great honor for Coach Jarvis. And again, congratulations to him. I'm sure everyone at Belmont is really excited just because, again, he is such a good guy, man. And he's such an ambassador for baseball across Tennessee and beyond. So this is great to see. Again, congratulations to him. Late last night, not long before I went to bed, actually, I was scrolling through Twitter as I am wont to do. Wade, what do Dalton Connect, Bronny James, and Grayson Murphy have in common?
Well, prior to last night, I would have really struggled to come up with a connection there.
Oh,
but
I see what you did there. Very nice.
But now we kind of know a little more framework on this, right? Because it looks like Grayson Murphy is going to be teammates with those guys at least for a couple weeks.
At least for a couple of weeks. Former Belmont standout Grayson Murphy has been named or has been added to the Los Angeles Lakers roster for a couple of summer league events, the California Classic in San Francisco next week and the NBA 2K25 Summer League in Vegas for 10 days following. So that's huge for him, man. He's been over in Germany killing it and got on the right radar. So again, he will be joining Bronny James, first round draft pick Dalton Connect. Why do I recognize the name Colin Castleton, Wade?
You're stumping me here.
Oh, that name sounds
familiar.
Is that
familiar. Not the former? Is that not? Yeah, it's my old Michigan guy.
Okay, there we go. See,
big,
I knew
big
you would
center.
know. Yeah, Blake Henson, among others. So yeah, he'll be getting a look. Again, they will play in San Francisco July 6th through 10th, and then they'll play in Vegas July 12th through 22nd. So, great development for the former Independence High School standout, who is now the number 2 all-time scorer in Independence High School basketball history behind Southern Miss freshman Jet Montgomery. This season in Germany, Grayson Murphy averaged 13.6 points, 7.1 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and a league-leading 2.6 steals per game. Also shot 52% from the floor, 43% from behind the arc. Those are solid numbers. So, I mean, I'm sure that it's all of that kind of gets him this opportunity to show his wares stateside this summer and maybe play his way onto somebody's roster as a two-way guy or something like that. But at any rate, doing it stateside. So, finished his Belmont career third among active players in assists, 6th in steals, all-time OVC career leader in assists and steals, 3-time all OVC first team pick selection, and 2-time conference defensive player of the year. Belmont won 104 games during his 4 seasons and 4 conference championships. So he will be one of 2 Belmont players in the summer league. Ben Shepard will be going with Indiana after playing for the Pacers this past season. So again,
a little extra Belmont flavor to the summer league schedule, which for those early summer leagues, the big Vegas part kicks off in a couple weeks. But whether it's San Francisco or Salt Lake, where a lot of teams are going, they start this weekend.
Okay.
So a chance
All right.
to jump right in, and a lot of the cool part too about this being a real slow time of the year is a lot of those games will be on ESPN or NBA TV. Yeah, the Lakers play the 6th, the 7th, and the 10th, and 2 of those will be on ESPN or ESPN2, and then 1 will be on NBA TV. So a chance to check out our local guy.
Under normal circumstances, now obviously with a local guy involved, then the chances kind of ramp up a little bit. But under normal circumstances, how much of a hoop head do you have to be to watch summer league basketball?
I'll tell you what, Mo, I got to go to Summer League a couple years ago out in Vegas, and it is a fun event because it kind of almost is like the winter meetings. I've never been to the winter meetings in baseball, but it's like
Oh,
the winter
wow.
meetings
Okay, just in
because
terms of the folks that are around and that kind of thing.
all you need to know is Jay Crowder sat right behind me in the crowd. I mean, all the tickets are general admission. You can kind of go. Me and Jay Crowder sat there and watched an entire Grizzlies basketball game. He was just in the crowd, just having fun, chatting it up, chopping it up with everybody. Obviously, this year we'll take on a little more significant role with our local connection. But then you wonder, I got a real strong hunch that LeBron James will be floating around in Vegas at some point.
You would think that he might be around just a little bit. Yeah,
but it's so cool because everybody's just walking around, just having a good time. But to answer your original question, yeah, you got to be a big old basketball nerd to want to go to this thing, and it's fun. They kind of incorporate a little bit of a competitive element, but the cool part is everybody's out there giving their best because these are guys that are either fresh into the league as draft picks or they're guys kind of like Mr. Murphy here where they're battling for spots. And so you're getting their best effort every game.
I would probably be more apt to go to a game if I was, in the area and it was going on than I would be to carve out some time to watch it on TV because like you said, that atmosphere sounds really cool in a winter meetings kind of way. And you should go to that if you ever get an opportunity because it's really cool just seeing the folks walking around trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B out at the Opryland as we all are. So but yeah, it's interesting to me, Summer League, because like you said, everybody's trying to get noticed, so to speak. So what does that mean? What does that do for your game when you're trying to make sure that people see you? Are you how do you go about that?
Yeah,
especially when your strength isn't necessarily being a scorer.
Yeah, right. That's if you're not putting up, 35 points a game, how do you get noticed? And that's the $1 million question. And sometimes we see it every year. Some of these guys put on just shows. I think it was Josh Selby a couple years ago, the former Kansas guy. He had a off the charts, crazy, cool summer league when he was a member of the Grizzlies. And then I don't even know if he ends up making the roster. I mean, this thing is kind of a weird, inexact science. And the year I went, it was 2012, and the Grizzlies drafted Tony Roten, and he was tearing it up. And we're not talking about Tony Roten in the NBA today. So
I'm not sure we talked about Tony Roten in the NBA in 12-13. So yeah,
it was limited. So, but it is fun. It's a cool thing. And Grayson, like you made a great point. And maybe you don't even the Lakers throw them out of the equation. You may not even be playing to end up on the Lakers, right? You may be just kind of auditioning for somebody else that gives you a shot down the road.
Absolutely, because everybody's going to see you. Everybody's watching every game. They've got video of every game. Teams know what they're looking for. And if it's not necessarily on their summer league team, then maybe they're looking for some other stuff as well. So I just think it's a great opportunity for Grayson to showcase the totality of his skills. Again, lockdown defensive guy, ball hawk, likes to get out in transition and can shoot it. And you'd like to think that shooting it never goes out of style, right?
Yep. And as we'll discuss with the Lakers and their coaching staff, and has already been discussed with their coaching staff, they are going to look to shoot it a lot going forward. So It'll be fun to watch, man. I'm excited for Grayson. His brother played for us briefly at Martin Methodist, Mr. Patrick Murphy, and was a great standout in his own right. So the Murphy household has got some game, no doubt about it. And I know a lot of those folks in the Independence and Belmont communities are very, very excited to see what happens this summer.
Absolutely. And there was a guy who wrote a book, Can I Keep My Jersey? And it was about a former Iowa State basketball player who made a career playing internationally and was all over the place in Europe and other places. And that was his catchphrase, Can I Keep My Jersey? Paul Shirley, former Iowa State post/forward, 11 teams, 5 countries, and 4 years in my life as a basketball vagabond. And it's a fantastic read, by the way. But I mean, I guarantee Grayson Murphy's Lakers jersey, regardless of how this goes, will wind up in a shadow box frame in his man cave at some point. So that's great for him, and wish him the best of luck.
And maybe if nothing else, gives him a little more bargaining power if he does end up back overseas, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So secure the bag always. Let's take our first break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And when we come back to the Lee Company studios after, we'll be joined by Heather Williams talking a little NASCAR. Stay tuned after this.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers, putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you. no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Wade Neely, and we talked a little bit earlier in the week regarding the weekend out at the Nashville Super Speedway in Gladeville, particularly the Sunday night festivities, the late Sunday night festivities. But, you know, we couldn't discuss it quite in the manner that it deserved to be discussed. So we are bringing in our NASCAR expert, Heather Williams from WCYB TV over in Johnson City, who I guess has recovered from the weekend.
I have, but apparently my computer hasn't. Have you seen this? Unable to connect to the internet. So I am on my phone in our podcast room with nothing behind me. But I'm here.
And that's all that matters.
Yep.
I have had a few hours of sleep since Sunday, I think, and it was a wild night. It was a long night, and I honestly thought they were never going to stop wrecking. In fact, I think maybe Harrison Burton just turned again on the backstretch.
Okay, so Heather, we had Stephen Hardis on. You're well familiar with the sports editor down at the Chattanooga Times Free Press. We had him on Monday, talking to him about Gary Rankin's induction into the National Federation of High Schools Hall of Fame during a Monday ceremony up in Boston. But we got sidetracked because he went out to he and David Pascal went out to Omaha for the championship series between Tennessee and Texas A&M. And he told us that they left at like 12:30 Monday night / Tuesday morning and came back to chat straight through.
Well,
please tell me you stayed over Sunday night.
Oh, please. I mean, first of all, two of the most quality people in the world in Pascal and Hardis. Love them both to death. But that's insane. I need okay. Once there started being a 5 in the first digit of my numbers of age, I need my sleep. So yeah.
Took you that long, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
now that sleep usually comes like at 8 o'clock, from like 8 o'clock to 2 in the morning, but I still need the sleep.
I understand. Yeah, we told him how stupid that was, but
Both of them are old enough to know better too.
But yeah,
I would think
I'm
so.
not saying. I mean, I'm old, as we've already established, because I said I got that 5 in my number now. But
congrats.
They're around my age, and so they are both old enough to know better.
Yeah, it's not something I would have done. Surely, somebody smarter would have prevailed at some point. I think one of them said it and the other one didn't want to back down or something. So, it's how bad decisions get made. But at any rate,
knowing both of them, I could probably figure which is which too.
No lobsters involved in the crowning of Joey Logano as the winner of the Ally 400, and I'm a little disappointed, actually.
No, but a really cool Gibson guitar. So which would you rather win?
Depends on who's cooking. No, at least I assume that the guitar survived.
Yes. No, there were no Kyle Busch guitar crashing incidents like there were a few years ago. The guitar survived probably better than a lot of people did. It was hot, and then it rained, and then it was steamy, and then it was cooler, and then it was the race that would not end. A record 5 overtimes in the race, and it did start to get to the ridiculously sublime with the amount of people running out of gas and then pushing on each other and turning each other. It was entertaining. I don't think that I would want to see that every weekend and being on deadline too, it was making me a little bit insane, something that I'm sure you can relate to when you're, in a basketball overtime or something like that. But, it made the race really interesting because the guys that finished up top at the front started the first overtime towards the back. I think Logano was somewhere around 14th. There was people that were like 20th when the overtime began because they were the ones that stopped and got gas. Well, Logano didn't really stop and get gas, but some of the other people did. And, when people were running out, they had the fuel they needed to get to the end.
You mentioned running out of gas, and Logano says that basically he was on his last drop. Wade and I were just mystified at how closely those guys can get it to, he couldn't have made another lap.
Yeah, and I mean, had more fuel mileage or had gotten gas sooner than Logano that ran out. Logano is the best guy in the garage area at saving fuel. His former crew chief Todd Gordon was on Sirius XM last night talking about Logano. When they dropped the green flag, Logano started saving gas. So that is one of the things that helped him a lot. Denny Hamlin also talked on his podcast about it helped Logano save gas because he was slow. If you're running in the back, if you're drafting off of other cars where you're not having to use all the energy just from pure gasoline to make time, then you're not burning gas as well. So the fact that Joey wasn't as fast as Denny, as who else was up front? Chase Briscoe, some of the guys who were up front when overtime began, he was using less gas. So a lot of the things that worked in his favor to be able to go, I think it was 110 laps when people thought the fuel window was around 80 laps. So he went, 30 laps longer than anyone else thought that they could on gas, just by the combination of being one of these slower cars in the lead pack. He wasn't one of the slower cars, but one of the slower cars in the lead pack and saving gas. And that was what won him the race, was the pure fuel mileage.
Heather, a lot of talk about, running out of gas and crashes and the 5 overtimes. I don't know why this popped in my head when you mentioned all that earlier. I'm curious, what is the fewest number? Is there a minimum number of cars that have to finish on the lead lap, or what's been the fewest number that has there ever been like a heads up almost type situation that you can recall?
I mean, there's been races, this didn't have anything to do with overtime, but there's been races where there's been one car on the lead lap. Back in the old days when there were just cars that were just so much better. I think that there's been cars that have won by 2 and 3 laps before, 4 laps before. And so, no, there's no requirement of who has to be on the lead lap. These days, it's rare to have less than about 15 cars on the lead lap. Like, that's rare just because the cars are so equal and you can get your laps back with the lucky dogs and wave arounds and things like that. So it's just rare to have less than, I'd say, 15 cars on the lead lap, but there's no requirement. You could be the last guy riding around on the track by yourself. Everybody else could wreck out. It doesn't matter. That's what I
was visualizing, all those overtimes. And if we just kept going, and there was just 2 cars left, and it was just mano a mano almost type situation.
We'll Talladega Nights action there. No, I mean, it could happen. It won't ever happen, but it absolutely could.
And what else surprised you? Sorry, I thank you guys both for humoring me there in a moment. But
no.
What else surprised you, or what did you take away from this weekend, other than obviously the crazy kind of way that it unfolded at the end?
There weren't a lot of surprises. I mean, up until the craziness at the end, all the usual suspects that we thought were going to be up at the front were at the front. Ross Chastain was up there. The Toyotas were up there. The Hendrick cars were up front. And then madness broke out. And so you had none of those guys finishing in the top of the field. I guess the biggest surprise for me, that's not just this week specific, but this week kind of just sealed it. There is something wrong at RCR and Kyle Busch. Now, he did have a little bad luck because he was able to use some fuel mileage or some pit strategy to get up towards the front and then got wrecked out of the race. But he had to use the pit strategy. Like, he wasn't going anywhere until he used that strategy. So a little bit surprised at how bad the 8 car is struggling because, they're going to have to, and the same is true for the 20. The 20's really been struggling, and they used a little strategy and it worked for them this week. They're going to need something like that because they're so far back in the points now that they pretty much have to win to get in the playoffs. So they're going to have to use a little strategy, a little voodoo to get into the playoffs, which is kind of crazy to say about Kyle Busch because he's just consistently and perennially one of the best in the garage area.
We talked about Logano and how kind of a wizard he is in terms of fuel mileage and fuel economy. How big of a gamble was it rolling it to the end? Because if he doesn't win, I read, that he said that he would have finished in the 25th, as far as his future for the rest of the season now with the playoff situation. How big of a gamble was it in your mind? Were we really talking about just the thinnest of margins of him either finishing first or finishing, way in the pack?
I mean, it was a gamble, but they're at the point, they were kind of at the point, they were in the playoffs over the last car in, but on points, but they were kind of to the point where they felt like they were going to need a win to get in. I think anyone 14 on back probably feels that way at this point, just because there can be new winners. So it was a calculated risk and it paid off, but I feel like they knew that was when they were going to have to take, because the best way to guarantee to be in the playoffs is to get a win. And after Bubba, Wallace was really the only guy that was close enough. I mean, if he would have run out of gas and Bubba didn't, Bubba would have passed him, but they were close enough in the points that Bubba was still going to be in his reach as far as getting him back on points. And with a couple of races coming up for Bubba, road courses specifically, that are not good races, he probably felt pretty good about the ability to catch back up with Bubba if necessary on the points. So it was a calculated risk, but not that big, because the reward was worth it and it paid off.
High risk, high reward. Heather Williams from WCYB TV in Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as we talk a little NASCAR. I guess when you feel like you're going to need a win and you're that close to one, it does kind of bring out the high risk, high reward type scenario there. So it was worth the roll of the dice there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they knew that it was going to come, and you're going to see other guys that are in that situation start to take more risk. I think you'll probably see, Bubba Wallace start to take those risks, because he's kind of the next guy, and Alex Bowman, who's now, I believe, the driver on the cut line. I think you'll see those guys start to use a little more strategy, to take a little more risks and do things when they were just simply trying to point their way in. They probably wouldn't do, just because I think, like I said, anybody from about 14 to, well, on back really, but realistically, there's some guys that probably can't get a win even unless something really crazy happens. But I would say between 14 and 20, you'll probably see those guys really, start to shake things up, just because they're going to need a win to get in at this point.
The Cup Series moves to Chicago for this weekend. But Heather, before we do that, I am looking at NASCAR.com, and big news for Hendersonville's Josh Berry, huh?
Yeah, he's going to the Wood Brothers, which I think is a really good move for him. He stays in the Ford camp. The Wood Brothers car is basically a fourth Penske car, which Penske is the top Ford team. They get all their support from Penske, and their crew chiefs come from Penske. Their pit crews come from Penske. So if you take advantage of it, and this is what Brian Blaney did, you can win races and make playoffs in that car. And so the opportunity is there. He's going to have the same equipment basically as Austin Cindric and Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. And if one of those drivers moves on or retires or whatever, there's an opportunity to move into one of the main three Penske rides. So I think that's a great opportunity for Josh, and I'm so happy for him that he's going to get to stay in the Cup Series, because there just aren't going to be enough rides this year for guys, because we're losing a whole team in Stewart-Haas Racing, which is shut down. So they're keeping one car. So there's three rides that aren't available anymore. So the fact that he's able to stay in the Cup Series and stay in a pretty good ride, I would say it's at least equivalent to what Stewart-Haas has become with the Penske support. It might even be a little bit better if he takes advantage of it and does some things right, like Ryan Blaney did. I think it's exciting for him.
And like you said, Stewart-Haas shutting down at the end of the year, so he was going to be without a ride, basically. I mean, I would think this turned out about as well for Josh Berry as it could have under the circumstances.
Yeah, it's probably, now that since his teammate Chase Briscoe went to Gibbs, it's probably at the moment the best available ride. You do have those two cars that are open up at Front Row Motorsports, but Front Row's not. I don't think under the best circumstances that the Front Row car is as good as the ceiling is on this Wood Brothers car. So I think he did well for himself. I think at the moment it's the best available ride. Now there are still potential rides that could open up, because there is the rumor of Trackhouse and 2311 both expanding. But at the moment, it's the best ride available, and I think he was smart to jump all over it.
took a little bit of the sting out of a 26th place finish this weekend. I
Well,
guess.
and he's one of those guys that got caught up in the strategy. He was one of the stronger cars all day long, and then I think he got caught up in a wreck in one of the overtimes, maybe the fourth or the fifth one. But he's been showing speed, and he's been running well. He's just had bad luck and hasn't gotten the finishes he probably feels like he deserves, but he's there. And it's going to be really hard probably this year for him to get a win because everybody in that organization is looking for jobs, and as jobs open up, there'll probably be people leaving in the middle of the season to go start their new jobs. So, but he's putting himself in a good position just the way he's running and building confidence that when he goes to a more stable situation at Wood Brothers, he should be able to take off.
Logano, Zane Smith, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Preece, and Chris Buescher were your top 5 at Nashville Superspeedway Sunday night. Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Daniel Hemrick, and Noah Gregson closing out your top 10. Again, action shifts to Chicago this weekend. What are you looking for?
The street course. And I'm excited to see them get a chance to hopefully knock on wood, although there's a little bit of wood right here. No weather, because that kind of hampered the street course racing last year, to really see what these cars can do and put on a show. They put on a pretty great show. Last year, a star was born at this race, and Shane Van Gisbergen. Nobody knew who he was or how to pronounce his name a year ago until he won the street race. And he's come in and run Xfinity races. He's won 2 races. They've both been on road courses. I think he's running the Cup race this year again, and the Xfinity Series race on the street course. He's definitely the guy to beat. And it's just a different form of racing. I think it's anytime NASCAR does something different, it's entertaining. It should be fun. And there's going to be a lot of road course kind of ringers or, road course crashers or whatever you want to call it, running in the race that will make it very interesting. I think AJ Allmendinger is running the race. He's good on the road courses. Joey Hand is coming in and running, I think, the Project 60 car for Roush Fenway Racing. So there's going to be some different guys that are going to be up at the front. And it's a challenge for the Cup guys, for the regulars, because it's not a discipline that they do on the regular. So I think it's going to be fun because I don't really know, other than the fact that Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be good, what else to expect. And I think that makes it interesting.
Yeah, Heather, we talked a little bit or a fair amount about this race last year and kind of how unique it is. And I'm curious, is this a race or a course in particular that after you've run it a time or even just one time that you can take away some real big lessons, or is it kind of one of those deals where if you got it, you got it, and there really is no way to really, no matter how many simulations you run, kind of get better at it per se?
Well, I think this is an instance where the simulations might be more helpful than others because the course, because it's an actual street, it's not a controlled course. The surface in the course is going to be different every time. It's going to feel different. So it's more about rhythm. And so learning how to drive a road course and the rhythm of the course, practice will make you better at it. That's why Shane Van Gisbergen was so much better than everybody else last year, because he had driven the road courses before, or street courses before, understood the rhythm and how to get around them. The more practice these Cup guys get in the simulator, in practice, there's a ton of them running the Xfinity Series race on Saturday to get more time, the better they will get at it. So it is one of those situations where practice means a lot more than it would maybe at like a Bristol, where you either have it or you don't, because it's unique. I mean, you can get better at it, but you either have it or you don't at that kind of a track.
Awesome. Heather Williams, WCYB TV out of Johnson City. Racing knowledge, not just NASCAR, by the way, but we lean on her a lot for NASCAR. And Heather, we appreciate you taking some time with us. We will catch up with you next week.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Thanks. When we continue on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll talk a little Braves, talk a little Major League Baseball, and talk about one guy in particular who is well worth talking about. We will get to that after this.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
July 3rd, 1966, Tony Cloninger's 2 grand slams and 9 RBIs were part of a 5-homer onslaught as Atlanta blitzed host San Francisco 17-3. That's pitcher Tony Cloninger, who became the first National Leaguer, regardless of position, to hit 2 slams in a game, while setting a major league record for RBIs by a pitcher. Joe Torre, Rico Carty, and Hank Aaron each went deep for the Braves as well, while Cloninger went 3 for 5 and picked up the complete game victory. That was this day in Braves history. And what this day in Braves history tells me is that Major League Baseball schedulers are in a lather, rinse, repeat type rhythm, I guess, with the schedule, because the Braves are playing San Francisco this week as well. What's that? Almost 60 years later, they're just going back and rolling out the same schedule. I don't know. Now, things did not go quite as well for the Braves yesterday as they did in Candlestick Park in 66. Ronaldo Lopez only goes 4 1/3, his shortest outing of the year. Just really kind of struggled with his command, threw more than 100 pitches to get to that 4 1/3, but left with a no decision. Dylan Lee gave up the rest in a 5-3 Braves loss. Braves scored early on back-to-back home runs from Austin Riley and Sean Murphy, but didn't get a whole lot else until picking up a third run late. So tough night for the Braves against San Francisco. They go at it again tonight. 6:20 is your first pitch. Jordan Hicks, the former Cardinal, 4-4 with a 3.36 ERA going for San Francisco. Chris Sale, 10-3, 2.79 for the Braves. So maybe they get right tonight.
Chance to bounce back.
Absolutely. Some good news, or a little good news, I guess. I guess everybody is represented in the futures game. The Braves representative will be Gwinnett catcher Drake Baldwin, who has really been on a tear for the Stripers 1P since coming up from AA Mississippi, hitting 306 in 16 games, with more walks than strikeouts. That's never a bad thing. So they've got a couple of guys down there that we may not see this year in Baldwin and in shortstop. And remember the name, Nacho Alvarez. Couple of guys that are going to be knocking on the door here pretty soon to come across town to Truist Park, and going to be interesting to see how that works for both those guys, because we mentioned Sean Murphy with the home run last night, Travis d'Arnaud, the other catcher. The Braves are pretty well set at catcher for right now, but they are sending one to the futures game, so we'll see how that goes. And as Orlando Arcia's offense continues to regress to what some would tell you is the norm, there's a little bit more of a push for maybe Alvarez to get the call. I think they want him to stay down for the entire season. I think it'd probably be best for him, but we will see how that goes. If Orlando doesn't snap out of it pretty soon and doesn't get back from that abscessed tooth pretty soon. Yes, yeah, that just shoot me. Yeah. You know, he went out of a game one day last week with some dizziness, and I don't know if that was related to this. He came back and played some later last week, but has missed, I think he missed Sunday against the Pirates and missed last night's game. And I'm not sure what his ETA is from that, but you know, I don't think it's something that you really put somebody on the 10-day IL for.
Yeah, that is not a good situation, but be interesting to see kind of how all that shakes out.
Yeah. Abscess tooth, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I've not had one, but it just does not sound very pleasant. The Brewers not resting on their laurels. They are leading the NL Central by about 6 games, I think, but they went out and made a trade this morning, acquiring Tampa Bay right-hander Aaron Savali in exchange for a minor league infielder. Savali was traded last midseason from Cleveland to Tampa Bay and has not been great there, but it sounds like maybe Milwaukee see something they can fix with him. But at any rate, we were talking about high risk, high reward. This is kind of a low risk, low risk, high reward for Milwaukee, which is 51-35 overall. And again, 6 games up in the Central. So if they can kind of reinforce the pitching, and their pitching has taken a little bit of a hit, as we've discussed here on this show, with guys like Robert Gasser being done for the year. But despite that, again, 16 games over 500, 6 up in the division. Braves fans watching this move by Tampa Bay and wondering, wonder if they're done, because I think the Braves and Alex Anthopoulos have had their eyes on Zach Eflin, the former Phillies starter, for a while, and wouldn't mind reinforcing their starting rotation with a move.
They're seeing those moves. They're like, let us get some of that.
Yeah, exactly. I would like the same for me. So absolutely. Aaron Judge, if the season ended right now, and I typically hate that phrase, but he would be your American League Triple Crown winner. Hit his 32nd home run last night in a loss to Cincinnati. But again, 32 homers, 83 ribs, and hitting .321. All three of those totals lead Major League Baseball, not just the American League. Yeah.
Yeah, he is absolutely on fire. And I mean, we've kind of, we're never ever going to reach, the level that we saw with Prime Barry Bonds. But I mean, you're getting to the point almost about as close as you can get in the modern game where you're like, we don't know what to do with this guy. We've tried everything, and he is just mashing. And as much as we like to talk about the Triple Crown, I still don't think, it's so hard to pull off. I don't know.
It really is.
But it is fun to at least be able to have the conversation for sure.
Here's another conversation to have. No one has had 400 total bases in a season since 2001. Judge is projected at his current pace to finish with 408. That's not bad. So, I'm not necessarily going to root for the Yankees. In fact, I'm not going to root for the Yankees, but I would not be bothered if Aaron Judge won the Triple Crown. I mean, I think it'd be great for baseball. I think it'd be really cool to see something like that.
Be a really cool storyline, especially if the Yankees are going to continue to fade like they're fading right now. At least give them something to cheer about. That was one of the such a mythic feat growing up. We've talked about, baseball and nostalgia here the last couple of weeks with some of the all-time greats leaving us, unfortunately. But that's one of the, just all-time, just childhood mythic feats. And who was it? Miguel Cabrera did it a couple years ago, but other than that, it hadn't been done since the 60s, I think. So, I mean, anytime you can even have that conversation in earnest is really cool and exciting for baseball.
Absolutely. One final note before we wrap up the hour. Former Columbia Central and former Middle Tennessee State pitcher Jaden Ham struck out 7 in 5 innings for Detroit's High A affiliate at West Michigan last night. He is 3-2 with a 2.16 ERA over 66 2/3 innings with 86 strikeouts.
Whew.
86 strikeouts in 66 2/3, 17 walks. I don't know where Detroit's AA team is, but I think Jaden Ham is getting ready to find out.
Yep. Keep your bags close by. Don't spread your stuff too far out in the hotel room, right?
Keep your bags close by and keep your phone charged up. Absolutely. That's going to do it for hour number 1 here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios here on Wild and Wacky Wednesday, it's the grab bag. And again, it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. So in our final segment of the day, Wade and I will be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Be sure and stay tuned for that. But again, hour number 2 on tap after this.
We thrive under the lights. A city of performers. Putting on one heck of a show. Headlining night after night. Welcome to Smashville.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Hour number 2 of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, starts right now. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely, and we have happened up on a little breaking news. Typically, this doesn't happen till after the show, but we were set to talk about the Nashville Soccer Club facing 5 games over the next 18 days, beginning with today's 5:30 first touch up at Columbus. And we will probably still talk a little bit about that. But I guess the question is, at this point, which of these 5 games over the next 18 days do we see the debut of new manager BJ Callahan?
Yeah, big news coming out of NSC this morning, Mo, is Valère told us last week that BJ Callahan was picking up steam. And as bad as we've bagged on the United States national team, hey, man, that was just Greg Berhalter. We don't care about the assistant coaches. Let them be fine. So move aside. There's a new Callahan in Nashville, it looks like, as my boy Donald Page from the Titans pointed out today. So this is a good get for Nashville. And like Valère pointed out, this is a guy that's got some good success both in the MLS and with the national team. And after a couple weeks of not really sure what was going to happen, where things were going to go, seems like Nashville got their guy.
According to Valère's piece on BroadwaySportsMedia.com, Callahan will officially take over on July 22nd. So he's going to miss this grueling 5 games in 18 days, 4 of which are on the road. Portion of the MLS schedule for NSC, but I'm sure he'll be watching with interest. And yeah, as you said, Valère kind of tipped us to this, friend of the show, Valère Shabilla. So always like it when we've got a little insight and a little heads up on some stuff. So Callahan becomes the second ever head coach in the history of NSC following the dismissal of Gary Smith earlier this season. And, again, Valère mentioned that he didn't think the interim guy was really going to be a factor in this search, and they really kind of want to return him to his, player development type role. So hopefully that will be the case.
Yeah, Roomba Moonthali did a noble job filling in as, and we'll get to fill in for a couple more matches, but um, that's not probably what he signed up for. That's not what he was probably anticipating, and so yeah, you get to slide him in. I love the way Valera phrased this, and he kind of talked about it last week, but this will be the big thing, Mo, is Gary Smith played a very methodical, kind of almost defensive first style. They prefer, which led to a lot of the draws that we've talked about on this show. And playing defense is all well and good, but it's a high variance strategy, because if you give up one goal, that means you're probably not winning the match. You're probably only drawing at best.
Right.
And we saw that kind of crumble the last the back half of last season, and then some of this year. Whereas on the other hand, Valera phrased it, the Callahan ball, almost this kind of, quote, energy drink soccer. So he's going to have a little more pressing. I think the fans will probably enjoy this, unless they don't win games, of course, and then everybody will be up in arms again, and we'll be doing this same thing over and over. But I like the hire. It feels kind of a nice, perfect landing spot for Nashville. They weren't going to go out and get, an elite European type manager, I don't think, and hiring a guy who was kind of just toiling in MLS. They weren't going to get any major MLS coach to leave to come to Nashville from one head coaching job to another, I should say. So this seems like a great fit. This guy's got a good track record both with U.S. soccer and MLS, and I, as a fan, am excited to see what happens.
Wade, in terms of style of play, the conversation here reminds me a little of some conversations that we've had about the Titans in the past, reminds me of some conversations we've had about Vanderbilt football in the past. At least if you're losing 4-3 in soccer, to stick around for an extended period of time or not, who knows? But I think there's something to be said for playing a brand of soccer that excites your fan base.
Absolutely. And, other than the last name, this is interesting with the Titans, because as great of a job as Vrabel did, Vrabel was in a similar boat as Gary Smith. The Titans were going to be competitive in every single game, and some games they would win that they had no business winning, and sometimes they would lose games that they had no business losing. And we saw that play out with Gary Smith in Nashville, and we're seeing it now with the Titans, at least on paper. We haven't seen any games yet. But if you're scoring points, at least you're giving yourself a shot. Now it's kind of up to your defense to at least mitigate the damage. And that's kind of what we're seeing for NSC as well. Again, if you give up one goal under Gary Smith, you're almost just resigned to a draw at best. 2 goals is certainly a death sentence, it felt like at times. So the fact that, you at least now potentially have a little more firepower on the offensive end, you certainly would hope you're not giving up 3 goals, but at least if you're scoring 4, you'll certainly take your chances and hope that your defense can give you enough to skate by.
I like this line from Valera. Time will obviously tell whether this is the right move for Nashville, but based on everything on paper, this at least does not seem like the wrong one.
Yeah, this is a quality hire. And again, if the U.S. had not just gone out in embarrassing fashion, we'd probably be even more jazzed up about this. But you also wonder if BJ wouldn't have been available at that point. And quick point of that too is, as much as we've been bagging on the U.S., BJ was with the U.S. When they won another tournament, the CONCACAF Nations League, a little bit recently. So it's not as if he's only been around for these negative kind of news cycles here for the U.S. He's been a part of some successful moments as well.
Something that we missed here over the last couple of days, speaking of NSC, Hani Mukhtar has been named to the MLS All-Star team that will take on Liga will play Liga MX in the 2024 All-Star game on July 24th at Columbus Crew's Lower.com field. So congrats to Hani.
Yeah, that will be fascinating to see, because of all the players, right? Hani Mukhtar had kind of been the huge offensive spotlight. And that was on a style that kind of really didn't promote offensive play at times. So I am very anxious to see, if they just turn the faucet on even more for this guy. Surge has been playing well. Honey's obviously played at an MVP level over the last couple of seasons. So this could be exciting. It doesn't necessarily may translate to a lot of wins, like Valeris pointed out, but at least you're restoring some excitement. I don't know if that was the goal, Mo, for the hire, but if your goal was to kind of re-energize the fan base and kind of maybe get things from an entertainment perspective jazzed up again, they certainly, in my mind, have succeeded here.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Late last night, we got word that Jerry Stackhouse will be on a bench this winter. Both he and Terry Stotts have joined Steve Kerr's coaching staff out at Golden State. Steve Kerr's coaching staff that will be without Klay Thompson, by the way. But it's good to see Stack back at it, given the way things went with him at Vanderbilt, I think. So I think this is cool. I think it probably kind of gets him back more into his comfort zone. He came from the professional ranks. He had some success in the G League. He had been a successful assistant coach in the NBA. And I think this is good for him.
Yeah. Quality move. And it didn't feel like it would take – I'm kind of maybe surprised it happened this quickly. I thought maybe he might take 1 full year to recalibrate. But we talked about it when we mentioned the Dan Hurley story, whatever that was a few weeks ago, about when you're minted, you're minted. And we see Juwan Howard, who's now rejoined the NBA with the Nets, and then Stackhouse is quickly back in the league as well. These guys take a bit of a swing going to the college ranks, running your own program. But the good news is you're more than likely going to be able to land back somewhere. And this will be exciting because you're right. The Warriors got a ton of questions about their state of their franchise going forward.
Yeah, they really do. Stack is filling the spot created by the mid-season passing of Golden State assistant Dejan Deki Milojevic back in February. Milojevic worked primarily with Golden State's post players, according to this article on NBCSportsBayArea.com. So that's whose spot Jerry Stackhouse will be filling out at Golden State as he joins Steve Kerr's staff. Speaking of assistant coach hirings in the association, I think one of the fascinating things about J.J. Redick's hire at or with the Lakers was going to be who he brings on board with him, given his lack of coaching experience. Well, got a couple of former NBA head coaches joining him. Scott Brooks and Nate McMillan are reportedly going to be on Redick's coaching staff. And that's interesting to me. Because if you're going to hire 2 former head coaches, well, I don't know. I guess to each his own. But I think this is good for Redick. I think it's great for Redick in that he recognizes, I don't know everything and I need some guys that have kind of been through the wars a little bit. And certainly got that in Brooks and McMillan. Those guys had some success. I mean, Brooks was at Oklahoma City when they were kind of rolling back in the late aughts and early teens. Also with Washington and most recently with he was most recently an assistant under Chauncey Billups up at Portland. And obviously Nate McMillan was with the Hawks and the Pacers, the Blazers, and the then Seattle Supersonics. So,
yeah, I think it's a good move. And, the internet has joked that this is the best coaching moves that the Lakers have made thus far. And, I mean, there's 100% agree. And, I'm a Michigan guy, but when Juwan Howard, he hired Phil Martelli, the old St. Joe's head coach, as his associate head coach. And that was universally lauded by all the Michigan fans as, hey, I don't know a whole lot about this head coaching game, so I'm going to go ahead and hire somebody that does. And I love what you mentioned about Scott Brooks kind of easing Chauncey Billups into head coaching ranks. I mean, this is a similar situation here. The Lakers have kind of pieced together between that and drafting Connect. I feel like they've started to kind of catch in short order some positive news, and I think these are two big pickups for LA.
Well, they needed some positive news though, Wade, because between the Redick hire and their second round pick, they were starting.
He has a full contract now, by the way, as of today. He's the rarely seen full guaranteed contract for the second round.
For the second rounder. Well,
yeah.
I wonder if it has anything to do with the other contract that was agreed to. LeBron James has agreed to a 2-year, $104 million max deal with the Lakers with an opt out after the 24-25 season.
Wasn't he supposed to take less money? I mean, that was what I immediately thought. All the chatter was that he was going to take less money to kind of help the team and kind of do a solid and get them going in the right direction. And so another solid bag grab. And that was the other great internet joke was who cares what Bronny's salary is? Because his allowance is more than what his salary is. So, I mean,
you do wonder if he got a raise with his allowance after this deal. But no, according to this article on CBS Sports, written by Sam Quinn, the price here is notable because James had previously been open to taking a significant pay cut in order to give the Lakers the financial flexibility needed, blah, blah, blah. However, his willingness Klay Thompson, James Harden, or Jonas Valanciunas. But the Lakers missed out on all of those and haven't been able to get on the same page with DeMar DeRozan. So James' offer to leave money on the table was based on specific timing. He has to be at Team USA camp on Sunday and wanted a deal done by then. The Lakers couldn't find the help he wanted, so he decides to take the max.
That's one
there
way
you
to do
are,
it.
Wade Neely.
Yeah. He showed me. I mean, hey, I want my guys, but if you're not going to get my guys, then
I want the bag.
Yep. So I can't fault him for that. But yeah, I thought he was definitely that was all the Jazz going into the offseason. And it will be curious because you do get the vibe that they still want to make one more kind of move. And Klay would have been interesting, but man, he really took a step back this past year. And then James Harden, I don't know how much he was really considering leaving. Valanciunas would have been huge if they could have got him, literally and physically, or literally
yes.
more so than anything, because that is a big, big body in the mold of Edie there. So the fact, the other interesting part too is, he's got a short-term deal. He's got that no trade clause. This seems like he's kind of locked in. It was interesting. And, everybody was making this joke too, is that, they got that team option for Bronny's contract. And it's almost like, well, his contract is directly tied to LeBron. If LeBron is dipping, guess what, Bronny, that 4th-year team option is probably not getting picked up, I don't think.
I wouldn't think. Yeah. We talked yesterday while we had Chip Walters on about Alicia Clark going over the 2,500 point milestone for her WNBA career. Another member of the Las Vegas Aces hit a milestone last night. Kelsey Plum scored 2 points in her last outing. Well, she bounced back in a big way, going for a season-high 34 as Vegas defeated the Fever 88-69. And with that 34-point effort, she reaches the 3,000-point mark. In fact, I guess it was probably her last basket. She now has 3,002 points. So 6 threes for Plum, along with 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and a steal in that big win over the Fever.
She's killing it and just rewriting. I mean, going to continue to just have an insane career. And this was wild, Mo, and I meant to mention it on a rundown yesterday. They moved that game. The Caitlin Clark effect is real, and they moved that game to T-Mobile last night. And for good reason. That was the largest crowd in since the late 90s. early 2000s, maybe second largest crowd, I think, in NBA. 20,366 fans. There we go.
I knew it was 20 plus. I didn't know the exact number. So good job. They're coming through. Yeah, that's
it was raucous, but the Aces got the dub. Alicia got the dub. I mean, that's an all around good night for everybody then.
Absolutely. Seattle Kraken announced earlier today that they are hiring former Coachella Valley Firebirds assistant coach Jessica Campbell as an assistant. Campbell will become the first women's assistant in National Hockey League history. So, during her time with Coachella Valley, she coached the forwards and the power play unit, and that team reached the Calder Cup final of the AHL, losing to Hershey in the finals. So that's huge.
Breaking. We've seen this at almost every other sport now, and we just talked about the Major League Baseball level yesterday with the Marlins franchise and what they did with the hiring of their GM. And so the NHL kind of getting in the mix here too. First ever women's assistant coach, and the Kraken are not exactly a slouch. So this will be fun to watch as she settles into her new role.
Absolutely. Congratulations to her and to the Kraken. When we return to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we will be joined by Nashville Sounds radio voice Jeff Hem. Stay with us after this break.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. In our final segment, Wade and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. right now, we're just going to Memphis to visit with Jeff Hem, the radio play-by-play voice of the Nashville Sounds, who are finishing up a short series at AutoZone Park against the Redbirds tonight before both teams come east on I-40 to complete their 6-game set starting tomorrow night at First Horizon Park. Jeff, what's up?
Hey guys, I can be wild and wacky if I need to be. I've been described that way before.
Well, you know,
It comes with the territory for minor league baseball, right?
That's right. That's right. You mentioned, Mo, as you were describing our schedule. Let me ask you guys. I'm kind of doing a straw poll here. So, like you said, we've got 3 here in Memphis, and then things will move to First Horizon Park tomorrow through Saturday. Would you guys describe this as 2 different 3-game series, or would you describe this as one 6-game series? I have my thought. I'm curious why would you describe this scheduling in terms of a series?
Wade, you are probably a little bit more learned. I'm going strictly off my gut, but you are a guy who comes from a sports information, media communications type background. What is your thought on that?
I go 3-game series only in the sense, I mean, you're playing at different ballparks. I mean, that just is kind of.
I thought that too, but when you play the World Series or the National League Championship Series or any kind of a playoff series, there is a change of venue. I thought the same thing initially. I was like, well, these are 2 different 3-game series. But then I'm like, well, wait a minute. You know, you're playing the same opponent 6 games in a row. I know this doesn't really matter, but this is like on the air. I'm trying to describe this like is tonight game 3 of a 6-game series, or is tonight the series finale? And the more I kind of talk myself through the topic, I feel like it's one 6-game series. So it's interesting that you said it the way you did, Wade.
I said it like that, but I'm also now seeing your side. And from a broadcasting standpoint, if I was on air, I probably would want to, now that you're saying that, have it just for the framework, if nothing else, because you guys are so used to that routine that you don't want to slip up and say, well, this is game 2 or this is game, 6 or whatever. I feel like the continuity would help you on air.
Yeah. I think in our game notes, it's going to get treated as one 6-game series, but I don't know where one would go to find like any kind of an official ruling on this from the media relations overlords. But to me, I'm thinking of it as one 6-game series with a change in venue.
You know, and that's where the rub comes in, because I tend to agree with Wade's initial assessment. I would tend to think of it as 2 3-game series. And I think the difference between that and, a playoff series or a postseason series is that it is a playoff series or a postseason series. This is, and I would probably just describe it as game 3 of a 3-game home set for the Redbirds, and I'd kind of bail on it like that. But yeah, I can certainly see both frameworks, both characterizations, and it's an interesting conversation, and just goes to show you it's never dull when we got Jeff Ham on.
This is the kind of real high level sports conversation that only I can bring to the table.
Hey, inquiring minds want to know, man. Man, y'all had some fireworks last night, huh?
Yeah, man, that one was really a kick in the gut. That 5 unearned runs is really what opened that for Memphis to even have a chance in that game. It's one of those where in the middle of the game, the way the Sounds were playing, you're like, this is going to be a cruise control kind of game. And then one error defensively, and then another non-error but gettable out in that same inning that didn't help either. And before you know it, it's 5 unearned runs, and then you're in a battle. And then Tyler Black, who's just been lights out in his 2 games back from the big leagues, hits a home run right after that in the 8th inning. And you're thinking, all right, control has been re-solidified, and then it just got wilder and wilder. Man, we've had some really crazy games in that regard. Last night reminded me of the Wednesday day game last week in Jacksonville, where it was just back and forth, and just one of those nights where I'm like, are we in Albuquerque? Are we in Salt Lake? Is this an old Pacific Coast League game where the ball is flying at altitude or something? Because it was all offense in that game too. The Sounds won that one, but last time, man, that was a tough pill to swallow. But hey, beauty of the game is there's probably one the next day, and that is no doubt the case tonight. And these guys, especially at AAA, when there's so much that can be part of the mental hurdles that you've got to deal with, these guys have the shortest memories, I think. Like, it's impressive, and it never ceases to amaze me. They are never high on a win, and they are never too low on a loss, because A, there is a game the next day, and B, there's so much going on. A lot of times players don't even know a lot of the different stats and standings and records that I might be talking about on the air. These guys they're very good in their job at compartmentalizing what they need to think about. And I would imagine, 20, 30 minutes after last night's finish, they were on to tomorrow, because that's kind of what this game demands. And I think that's a lot of the reason why it's such a compelling game.
You threw a lot out there. And,
yeah, my brain is processing right now.
But no, I mean, it's the one thing that I wanted to go to was five unearned runs. I'm sure really got under Rick Sweet's skin.
It did, and I know the defense has been a topic this year for him, especially on the infield. And the irony of it is that the error last night was by shortstop Freddie Zamora, who has really solidified this infield since he got here in the middle of May. Because Rick Sweet, we got so spoiled 2 years ago with Bryce Terang every day at shortstop. And Rick Sweet has multiple times over the years to me described it as Bryce Terang is a shortstop. And what he meant was a lot of people can play shortstop, but are they shortstops? And Freddie Zamora is a shortstop, and he came up from Double-A in the middle of May when the Sounds had been putting a lot of different guys who can play shortstop but aren't true shortstops. And so the defense got better when Freddie got here. And look, one play is one play. It does not define a player or a season. But I'm mindful of that like these unearned runs piled up last night on an error by a guy who's been terrific defensively and has allowed other guys to be in a more natural position because he can play short. And he just made a mistake on a ground ball starting off the inning. And little did we know at the time that it spiraled. But overall, the defense has gotten better, especially on the infield in the last month and a half. And Freddie's a big credit to that. But you're right, Mo, that Rick Sweet he's talked about the defense. That if there is one thing that has been very top of mind for him and the coaches this year, it's try to get the guys better defensively on the infield. And that has happened, even if last night makes it feel like it hasn't.
Jeff Hem, play-by-play voice of the Nashville Sounds, joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. And as you mentioned, Jeff, the best thing about a 13-11 10-inning loss is you get a chance to get back out on the field at AutoZone tonight. And none better to get out there behind than 7-1, 2.89 right-hander Chad Patrick.
Yeah, he's been the ace. He really has. He has. If he wasn't already when the year began, he has certainly put himself on the Brewers' radar for a team that today acquired another starting pitcher, acquired Aaron Savali from the Rays. A few days ago, acquired Dallas Keuchel, who pitched well last night for the Brewers in Colorado. They need all the starting pitching they can get up there in terms of depth, and Chad Patrick is in that group. And sometimes it works out this way that they might go outside the organization and bring in a veteran versus calling up a young guy. They've already called on so many young guys this year, and they will continue to. But I think the idea of getting a solidified big league starter to help their rotation up there was very appealing for the Brewers. And I'm sure they're not done here in the month of July because they're sitting atop the division, but with a rotation that's just had all kinds of different injuries. And so you look from within, And we've already seen Aaron Ashby go up a little bit. We've seen Carlos Rodriguez go up a little bit. And Chad Patrick is in that group. And, he deserves an opportunity. When will he get it? I don't know. But he has been terrific down here. He's been dominant, really. And it's not just for a start or two. It's really been from the day he got here at the finale of the last homestand of the year. He was supposed to be at AA. Things got shuffled around. A spot opened up at AAA. He was the guy they called on. And he has not only pitched like he wants to stay at AAA, but he's pitching deservedly of a big league chance. And we'll see if that comes anytime soon. But the old be ready, he is showing that he is ready if they have a need that fits what he can do.
Absolutely. Wade and I have talked ad nauseum regarding injuries at the major league level, particularly of the pitching variety. And, Robert Gasser is out for the year for Milwaukee. They have, to be 51-35 and to be 6 games up in their division, they have really dealt with a lot of guys that aren't available and aren't going to be available for a while. So to be able to go out and get a Savali and to have a Chad Patrick here kind of waiting in the wings is great stuff. And when you guys get back to First Horizon tomorrow, it's DJ Hall going tomorrow night. It's Carlos Rodriguez, who you mentioned, on Friday, and then friend of the show, Garrett Stallings, wrapping up the series on Saturday. So there's more arms where those came from, I guess.
No doubt. And I mean, Stallings was brought in a trade. Patrick was brought in the offseason in a trade. Rodriguez was drafted and developed. Ashby was drafted and developed. So, look, you're right. Injuries, it feels like injuries are happening more often just across the game, especially on the pitching side. And the Brewers have been tested. It's why the opening day roster is one thing, but then it's like, talk to me at midseason and let's see what that opening day roster looked like. And the Brewers are without Brandon Woodruff all year. They knew that was going to be the case. They've lost Gasser. They've lost Wade Miley, both to Tommy John surgeries.
They traded Corbin Burns.
They did. They traded Burns. And one of the guys they got in return is the guy you mentioned, DL Hall, who is also hurt, but pitching better and better on rehab. And he'll go tomorrow. And I think what is an important outing, because he went 62 pitches his last time. And that was the most he'd thrown since he got hurt with the Brewers back in April. So I think they're trying to figure out, okay, can DL be a starter? Can he be a reliever? And both of those, I think, are on the table right now. But they got him along with Joey Ortiz, who's played an all-star caliber third base for the Brewers at the big league level. Those were the two they got for Corbin Burns. So no doubt they traded Burns, and then the Brewers are pretty good at making sure they get some return when they're going to deal a guy like that. And they still don't have their all-star closer, Devin Williams, until after the all-star break. And so it's to me, it's very impressive what the Brewers have done and are doing, considering all the injuries. And I know any team can show you a list of names of injuries, but the Brewers have had a lot, and they've had some pretty prominent names miss time. And the name, like you mentioned, of Burns getting dealt, and yet there they are with a fairly hefty lead atop their division. It's pretty remarkable, especially, I think, from the outside looking in.
Jeff, as you guys get ready to return home, 2 questions. Number one, with the way this series, singular series, as we've established, it sounds like earlier, with the way it's kind of going to play out, but it's also being so unique, how will your game plan or how will your routine be affected? How will the team be affected? And then number 2, I got to know how many 4th of July or Independence Day references do you got or trivia do you kind of got just sitting in the back pocket for tomorrow night?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's definitely a unique part of the schedule. It's funny too, because for years, and Mo knows this from covering the Sounds back in the day, like the old Pacific Coast League schedule, you'd have one off day a month basically. And now we're used to having every Monday off, but this week, because of the way the 4th falls, it has created 12 games in a row without an off day. We're enough removed from the old schedule format that it's like, oh man, 12 in a row without an off day. when like this used to be commonplace years ago. So, we went from Jacksonville having a Sunday night game, flew to Nashville and bussed to Memphis because of flight logistics were better to do it that way. Long story
That
short,
hurts.
that's just what the team did. There are some reasons for that. There was no curfew put on the game. Jacksonville did not want to move up the start time, so that is what it is. But anyway, so the guys that played Sunday in Jacksonville then played Monday night here in Memphis with some overnight busing, and it'll be a late night tonight into tomorrow for them, and they'll play tomorrow night, like you mentioned. It all balances out. There'll actually be a Sunday off day this weekend and a Monday off day. So they'll have back-to-back off days, then play next week against Iowa. Then it's the All-Star break. So it all balances out, but it is a unique part of the schedule that where my mind goes to answer your question, Wade, is like, normally it's like, oh, it's Sunday game. Well, you got the off day tomorrow. Let's get the bullpen emptied out, get everybody their work before the end of the weekend. Now, the pitching management totally changes in a situation like this where the manager and pitching coach are thinking, well, hey, we got to get through Saturday night without an off day. And, if your starter doesn't do what he's supposed to do, all of a sudden you're catching up and your bullpen's in trouble. And the Redbirds are in that kind of a situation right now. They had a bullpen game Monday. They didn't get much from their starter last night, and they're using a spot starter tonight because of fluctuation they've had with the Cardinals of late from different moves. So it's an interesting part of the schedule, not so much specifically because of the 4th of July, but just how these teams have to think a little bit differently right now when they don't have the comfort of the coming up off day after a 6-game stretch. But I also, I love the 4th of July. I think the ballpark is such a wonderful place to be on the 4th. We are expecting not just a big crowd tomorrow, but big crowds tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday. So I would advise anybody who's contemplating a Sounds game this weekend, do not wait on your tickets. You might be out of luck, or you might be standing, or you might be squeezing next to somebody out on the grass berm out in left center field because the place is going to be packed for a few days, which is wonderful. And, just being in Nashville at home against the interstate rivals on the 4th of July is a pretty cool thing. So I'm looking forward to kind of the energy that will provide. And I think I know the players feed off that kind of stuff. There should be a good crowd tonight here in Memphis. They don't draw here the way they used to, not even close. So that an energy in the park tonight and energy coming up the next few days in a stretch where there hasn't been an off day, not that the players are asking you to cry for them, but like they're in a grindier part of the schedule than they normally have. Big crowds help get those juices flowing a little bit when you're looking for something as a player, I think, for a little pick-me-up. So it's going to be a fun next few days in Nashville for that.
Following the second half of this 6-game series with Memphis that will be played at First Horizon Park and the 2 off days on Sunday and Monday, the Sounds have a 6-game series at First Horizon Park against the Iowa Cubs, which will include Margarita Night on Saturday, July 13th. And I'm sorry, Margaritaville Night.
Yeah.
And the Sounds had an interesting model for the hats that they will be giving away on Margaritaville Night. Mark, help me out here.
There it is.
If that is not, if that just strikes me as Rick Sweet to a T. I hope he got to keep that.
How great is that? Like how many managers with that kind of longevity in the game would
I ain't got time for this.
Right.
Yeah.
Or not, you want me to put on what and do what now? Like some of them would say, give me a photo from a different promotion. Like Rick that's just awesome. Put the hat on and the smile and an expression of that smile that only Rick Sweet can offer. I love it. And I may or may not have, and I did use that photo for his contact photo now in my phone. So whenever I get a call or a text from Sweetie, that's the picture that's going to come up. He doesn't know that. I may have to break that news to him now that I've broken it here. But I thought that photo was great too. I'm glad you highlighted that.
We like to break news here on Main Street Sports Today whenever possible. So yeah, but yeah, man, I saw that and it's like, man, that's just him though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. He's such a good
Yep.
dude. And so are you, Jeff, to make time for us, particularly off schedule. We typically get you on Fridays, but we'll not be here on Friday. So we wanted to move that up a little bit and get you back in with us. And we appreciate you taking some time. Enjoy your last few hours in Memphis. What time do y'all expect to get in tonight?
Games
in the morning?
Games at 6:05. I would think hit the road maybe 10:30. So you're looking at
2-ish?
2 o'clock or so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Have fun
Part
with
of
that.
it. We will. Part of it.
Hang with them
as always. Yeah.
All
Hey,
right.
At least it's a 6-game series and not 2 3-game series.
There we go. I'll talk to you later, man.
Distinction. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. See you.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. It's our final segment of today. It is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Wade and I will be bringing you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Stay tuned.
Bluegrass Auction Associates is hosting another estate auction in White House, Tennessee on Saturday, July 20th at 10 a.m. Join Bluegrass as they sell the Judy Matthews Honeycutt Estate, conveniently located in the scenic Orchard Park subdivision. This beautiful estate includes both real estate and personal property, so everything must go. Everything will be sold on-site and in person, and a 10% buyer's premium is added to the final bid. So bid with confidence with Bluegrass Auction Associates, committed to excellence.
It's the final segment of the day. It's Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. And we are going to bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news we could find from across the globe. And we got lucky because anytime we can marry sports and wild and wacky, it's pretty cool here on Main Street Sports Today. So,
and we have NASCAR and minor league baseball on the same day. So, I mean,
yeah. So, I mean,
wild and wacky, I don't know what does, right?
We're already pretty wild and wacky. This is just going to kind of put us over the top. But let's start out in the heartland, specifically Lincoln, Nebraska. Wade, you are a native Tennessean, as am I. We have heard about the body farm up at the University of Tennessee and the myths about there being skeletons underneath the playing surface at Neyland Stadium. There is no truth to that, but skeletons for their forensics studies were kept. The Forensic Anthropology Center at the University of Tennessee remains were kept not under the playing surface, but very close to the Neyland Stadium structure. Well, a regent at the University of Nebraska trying to create revenue streams suggested building a columbarium. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because I'm not familiar with the word, but suggested building a columbarium under the football field where departed fans can have their ashes inurned. And I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, her fellow regents laughed at the proposal at a recent meeting, but Barbara Whites acknowledged she made her pitch lightheartedly, but didn't think any proposal should be dismissed out of hand, with the university facing a $58 million budget shortfall. The price for niches where cremation urns are stored could vary depending on location, with a spot under the 50-yard line or end zone sold at a premium. Revenue would go to academics. One thing I know best about Nebraska is how much the football team and the volleyball team mean. We really do love our sports teams and follow them everywhere. It's part of being a Nebraskan. So why wouldn't being buried under the field be a great way to be close to your team forever? So it was a kind of combination of needing money, talking about ways to get it, and then trying to say, let's use our imaginations.
I'm thinking a couple things on that, Mo. I'm thinking, number one, we just talked about how the Big 12 is, open to selling naming rights for the conference, and how schools are desperate for revenue streams. I mean, that is one avenue. And then I was also thinking that nobody that's really alive has seen Nebraska football in any sort of real prominence at this point, as crazy as that is. So, I mean, it kind of almost seems, like a perfect and fitting memorial or tribute, right?
I mean, you hear about folks wanting to have their ashes sprinkled in different places and that kind of thing, on the beach, on various playing surfaces, that kind of thing. In fact, there is a real estate developer over in South Carolina trying to get approval from USC leaders to build an above ground columbarium across the street from Williams-Brice. Came up with the idea in 2016 after buying land adjacent to a popular tailgating area, and he called White's idea brilliant. Said if he builds his columbarium, a portion of the proceeds would go to the South Carolina Athletic Department or to a collective that pays Gamecocks athletes for endorsement work. Says he already has a permit. He's not trying to build it in opposition of the university, and we're slowly breaking down that opposition, he said. So, I mean, again, revenue streams, right?
Got to get creative. Them NIL deals are expensive, folks. So we gotta come up with something. You want Nebraska to be back in the national spotlight? This is your chance to make a donation in a different capacity, I suppose.
Regent Paul Kenny of Kearney said he found White's proposal somewhat entertaining but impractical. He said her idea is not in his top 1,000 for possible budget solutions.
And then, a dead on arrival, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
As our news outlet told us there.
That's. Hey, I do like the fact that she's like, let's turn over every rock and see what we can come up with here. And hey, throw enough stuff against a wall, something will stick. In Alton, Illinois, about 25 miles north of St. Louis, there is a soccer field that is off limits because a giant sinkhole swallowed up part of it. The field is built on top of a limestone mine, and it caved in last week.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Apparently no one was on the field, no one was injured, but the whole sudden formation showed a soccer field light pole disappearing into the ground.
Oh my goodness.
Along with benches and artificial turf at the city's Gordon Moore Park. Yeah, we're showing just
holy cow.
I guess they had surveillance cameras at first that caught the actual break. Good Lord. That's unreal.
That's not because they're getting ready to start a new fundraising project under.
No, that it won't be accessible from the actual playing surface. But yeah,
holy cow!
And apparently, the entire park is built over top of this limestone mine, so they've got to figure out.
So the whole thing could be in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know how the sinkhole will be fixed. Or if the sinkhole will be fixed. But engineers and geologists will most likely be involved in determining the stability of the ground and surrounding area. That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, imagine if you've got a tournament coming up there like in a couple weeks or months.
Had a tournament coming up there.
Even when they just first repurpose it, knowing that the rest of it is under there, it's like I'm not setting foot out there. Come on, now. I don't want any part of that. Oh my goodness,
Wade.
I got to tell you, we've talked obviously with Jeff and some others and about the 4th of July coming up, but did you ever know? I didn't really think that this was I couldn't believe this story because there's so much mythology around George Washington and his famous cherry tree. Apparently he really actually didn't cut down or really chop down the cherry tree despite the famous, supposedly, who really knows? However, he did pack away some cherry fruit at his home at Mount Vernon. As I'm reading here, dozens of bottles of cherries and berries that have been impossibly preserved in storage pits under the cellar of the mansion have been discovered during an archaeological. There we go. It's feels like a Friday dig connected to a restoration project. So basically, Mo, it sounds like they're finding fresh fruit. This archaeologist says, finding what is essentially fresh fruit after 250 years is, quote, pretty spectacular.
I don't know that that's fresh fruit after 250 years. I don't care how they found it.
Whole pieces, including what was a recognizable cherry, were found in some of the bottles. Other bottles include what appeared to be gooseberries or currants, though the testing is underway to confirm that. And, I don't know. I'm
Who's going to try it?
I was going to say I've done some dumb things in my life. I don't know that I'm going to try some
that ain't one of them.
250-year-old cherries.
No, count me out.
You could douse them up in all the liquid you want, and I still don't know that I'm going to try those.
I guess maybe the preservation of said cherries had to do with the liquids that they were doused in, though.
Maybe. I mean, Gatlinburg's made a killing off of selling products like that over the years. So I don't know that I'm going to try those. 250 years. George Washington apparently was just hoarding these cherries under his house.
Goodness gracious.
But yeah, I don't know that I'm that desperate. So
no,
count me out on that.
That's a hard pass. Wade, we talked a little bit about EA Sports and the college football game coming up and that kind of thing. And you are a gamer. I am not. I'm going to assume that you have never been mad enough that you would travel across multiple state lines to attack someone that you had played.
No, that's a line I'm not willing to cross, I don't think.
Lines plural. Edward Kang, 20, is charged with attempted second-degree murder and armed burglary with a mask after traveling from New Jersey to Florida to attack a player he had encountered in Arcade, a medieval fantasy massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Flew from New Jersey to Jacksonville, Ubered to a hotel in Ferdinand Beach, bought a hammer at a local hardware store, went to this guy's Ferdinand Beach home, which was unlocked. Middle of the night, the victim was walking out of his bedroom when he was confronted by Kang, who hit him on the head with a hammer. The two struggled as the victim called for help. His stepfather responded and helped to restrain Kang until police arrived. Victim suffered several head wounds that were not considered life-threatening and received staples for him. Kang told investigators that the victim is a bad person online. He asked deputies how much jail time people got for breaking and entering an assault and was told it's going to be a long time before you play video games again.
Yep, you're in timeout on the games.
Yeah. That's going to do it for Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, you guys have a great 4th, a safe 4th. We will see y'all back here in the Lee Company studios on Monday. at 2 o'clock. See ya.